She thought she escaped betrayal once, but when her perfect new husband triggers a look of pure terror in her ex's eyes, and a cryptic message warns her to run, Bethany must face the truth. The real danger is already inside her home. The autumn afternoon sunlight streamed through the windows of a modest, two-bedroom home nestled within the peaceful Maplewood residential neighborhood. The leaves, now rich with golden hues, danced gently in the breeze outside. Inside, Bethany Collins stood in the kitchen, brewing coffee. The gentle gurgle of the coffee maker harmonized with the comforting scent that filled the room. Bethany leaned against the counter, her fingers curled around a warm mug. As she stared out the window at the swaying maple trees, her mind drifted to how far she had come. 10 years ago, life had been a storm, painful, disorienting, and marked by betrayal. But now, her days were filled with calm predictability, and the chaos of her past seemed like a distant memory. "Bethany, I'm going to be late again today," a voice called from the living room. Mark, her husband of 1 year, was adjusting his tie while standing near the entryway mirror. He ran a mid-sized real estate business that had been expanding rapidly over the last few months. He looked handsome in his charcoal gray suit, his salt and pepper hair neatly styled, his presence exuding quiet confidence. Bethany walked over with 2 cups of coffee. "Don't overdo it," she said, handing him one. Their fingers brushed. His touch was warm and familiar, sending a ripple of comfort through her. Mark was kind, responsible, and cherished her deeply. Unlike the pain and unpredictability she had once known, this marriage felt like the reward for her resilience. "You spoil me," Mark said with a smile, leaning down to kiss her forehead. "Roast beef tonight." "If you're lucky," she teased as he stepped out the door. Bethany lingered in the entryway, watching him leave. A part of her wished they had more time together. Mark had been working late more frequently, attending client dinners and real estate meetings. But Bethany understood he was building their future. Still, she missed the early days of their relationship when they spent long evenings on the couch, binge-watching documentaries, or simply talking. She returned to the kitchen and tidied up before sitting down with her coffee and opening her journal. Writing had become a quiet ritual for her, a space to process her journey. As her pen moved across the page, memories of her first marriage surfaced. Tom Miller. They had met in college, both young and brimming with ambition. Tom was a promising engineering student with a bright future. He was attentive, romantic, and full of dreams. They married just after graduation and moved into a tiny apartment in the city. The early days were filled with late-night takeouts, shared dreams, and laughter. Money was tight, but their hearts were full. Then, around their 3rd anniversary, cracks began to appear. Tom started coming home late, claiming work stress. Weekends disappeared into vague outings with friends. Bethany initially believed him, but one night, she opened their bank account and froze. Their savings were nearly gone. "You lost again, didn't you?" she asked, voice shaking. Tom stood silently, unable to meet her eyes. "You promised you'd stop," she said, tears brimming. "I thought I could win it back for us." It was the beginning of a long, painful spiral. Tom's gambling addiction deepened. Promises of treatment came and went. Bethany fought to hold everything together, but the emotional toll became unbearable. When they divorced, she felt as though a piece of her soul had been ripped away. At 25, she moved back in with her parents, broken and disillusioned. The next few years were about survival and rebuilding. She worked part-time as a grocery store clerk while attending night school for bookkeeping. Love was no longer a priority, self-preservation was. Her friends encouraged her to date again, but she wasn't ready. Then, 2 years ago, at a friend's wedding, she met Mark. He was calm, self-assured, and unlike anyone she'd ever met. They struck up a conversation over wine and salmon tartlets, and from that moment, something shifted. Mark didn't just pursue her, he listened. When she eventually shared her painful history, expecting judgment or pity, he simply said, "The past is the past. What matters is now and the future." It was the first time in years she felt truly seen. Mark didn't try to fix her. He just stood beside her, quietly offering the space to heal. A year later, they married in an intimate garden ceremony, surrounded by close friends and family. Life with Mark was gentle. They moved into their Maplewood home and settled into a routine. On weekends, they walked hand in hand through the farmers market. Bethany began part-time work at a local bookstore, enjoying the quiet rhythm of a simpler life. Mark helped around the house, shared in grocery runs, and never failed to compliment her cooking. "Restaurant quality," he'd say, savoring her pasta dishes. Bethany blossomed under his steady love, her confidence returned, and for the first time, she began to imagine a future filled with joy, perhaps even children. One chilly evening in late October, as golden leaves swirled outside, Mark turned to her while they sat watching TV. "I want to build a family with you someday," he said, stroking her hair. Bethany smiled, heart swelling. "I'd like that." His parents, Ellen and Robert, had also welcomed her warmly. Ellen once told her, "I can tell how much Mark loves you. His eyes light up when he talks about you." Bethany finally felt like she belonged. 6 months into the marriage, everything seemed perfect. Yet recently, something had begun to gnaw at her. Mark's business meetings had become more frequent. Sometimes he'd be gone 3 or 4 evenings a week. "A big deal is in motion," he explained. "Lots of late dinners with potential investors." Bethany believed him. Real estate often requires off-hour negotiations. And Mark always called ahead and returned home with a kiss and a tired smile. Still, the changes were subtle as time. At home, more vague explanations. Friday evenings used to be their sacred time. Now, more often than not, she dined alone. "Is this normal?" she asked her friend Sarah over coffee. Sarah shrugged. "It's marriage. The honeymoon phase fades, but Mark's a good guy. Don't stress over it." Bethany nodded. She trusted Mark. He wasn't Tom. He was stable, thoughtful, reliable. That night she decided to make roast beef his favorite. He had texted to say he'd be late again, but she wanted to surprise him. As she walked to the supermarket, bathed in the soft golden light of the setting sun, she felt a renewed sense of peace. The Maplewood supermarket bustled with activity. Bethany strolled through the produce aisle, carefully choosing ripe tomatoes. She and Mark had plans to cook together tomorrow, something they hadn't done in a while. As she turned toward the meat section, a strange sensation swept over her. She looked up and froze. About 10 meters away, near the frozen food aisle, stood a man she hadn't seen in 10 years. Tom Miller. Her heart began to race. He looked thinner, his posture more guarded, but the profile was unmistakable. She hesitated. 1,000 thoughts surged. Should she approach? Walk away? Mark was nearby, examining cuts of beef. She took a deep breath and made her choice. "Mark, I'll be back in a moment. I saw someone I know," she said. He nodded, distracted. "Sure, I'll pick out the meat." Bethany walked slowly toward the frozen aisle. Tom still hadn't noticed her. He stood reading the ingredients on a pizza box. "Tom." He turned. Surprise flickered across his face, quickly replaced by a smile tinged with hesitation. "Bethany, ... Wow, it's been a long time." She nodded, her voice catching slightly. "Yes, ... How have you been?" They stood in silence for a moment, neither knowing quite what to say. "I'm doing better now," Tom finally said. "Clean for 5 years. Got a steady job. Living quietly." Bethany exhaled. Relief flooded her. "I'm glad to hear that." "I am." Tom lowered his eyes. "I owe you an apology ... for everything. That's all in the past," she said gently. "We've both moved on." Just then, Mark approached, holding a package of sirloin. "Got what we need. Friend of yours." Bethany turned. "Mark," this is Tom's expression changed instantly. The color drained from his face, fear and unmistakable flashed in his eyes. Mark extended a hand. "Nice to meet you. I'm Mark Davis." Tom didn't respond. He turned abruptly and walked away. "Tom." Bethany called, but he didn't stop. Mark blinked. "That was odd. He's my ex-husband," she said, still staring after him. "Ah, well, I guess that explains it." Mark gave a sympathetic smile. "Some men can't handle seeing their ex happy." Bethany nodded, but unease crept through her. Tom hadn't looked jealous or awkward. He looked terrified, and when her phone buzzed an hour later with a message from an unknown number that read, "Divorce immediately. Your husband," as her world began to tilt. Bethany stared at the message, her heart thudding violently against her ribs. "Divorce immediately. Your husband," as it ended there. Her fingers trembled as she read it again, then again. The number was unregistered, a jumble of digits with no name attached. She tried to call back, but it went straight to voicemail. A robotic message declared, "The number you have dialed is not in service." Mark walked into the kitchen, keys jingling in his hand. "Hey babe. Sorry, I'm late. Traffic was insane." Bethany quickly locked her phone and set it down face down on the counter. She managed a small smile. "I figured. I kept your dinner warm." He walked over, kissed her cheek, and headed toward the dining room. Smells amazing. You're the best. She followed him mechanically, her thoughts spinning. Every detail now appeared under a magnifying glass. His late nights, the vague calls, the sudden fear in Tom's eyes. As Mark devoured his roast beef, Bethany pushed her food around her plate. You okay? He asked between bites. Tired, she murmured. Long day at the bookstore. He nodded, seemingly satisfied. Get some rest after this. We've got a big weekend ahead meeting those investors in Riverdale. Bethany nodded, but inwardly, she was unraveling. After dinner, while Mark took a call in his office, she retreated to the bedroom and opened her laptop. She typed Mark Davis real estate fraud into the search engine. Nothing. Then Mark Davis, Riverdale investment. An article popped up. She clicked. It was a glowing piece in a local business journal, praising Davis Realty's expansion. No red flags. But something wasn't right. She needed answers beyond what a browser could give her. She glanced at her phone. Should she call Tom? Would he even answer? After a long pause, she typed, "What were you trying to warn me about? Please, I need to know." No reply. The next morning, while Mark was in the shower, Bethany opened his briefcase. She hated the feeling like she was betraying him, but she had to know. Inside were real estate documents, blueprints, and contracts. She flipped through until something caught her eye. A notarized agreement titled Maplewood Development. Partnership, Shadowgate Holdings. Her brow furrowed. Shadowgate, she had never heard him mention that name. She snapped a picture of the document and slid everything back into place. Later that afternoon, she visited the public library and used one of the anonymous computers. She searched Shadowgate Holdings. The results were chilling. Shell Company, lawsuits, fraud allegations. Several properties tied to the company had gone belly up due to zoning violations and forged permits. One court case mentioned a silent partner, never named in public. Bethany felt the floor of her world crack open. She rushed home, heart pounding. Mark had left for a meeting, and she used the time to call the number again that had texted her. This time, someone answered. A low voice said, "Bethany." Her breath caught. "Tom," he sighed. "I shouldn't have texted, but I panicked when I saw you with him." "Why? What do you know?" "He's not who you think he is. He used to go by another name, Marcus Dallinger. I met him at a poker den in Brooklyn. He was part of an underground ring laundering money through real estate projects. I watched him threaten someone for backing out of a deal. He nearly killed the guy." Bethany's knees buckled. She sat on the floor. "I thought he vanished after the ring got busted," Tom continued. "But clearly, he just rebranded. Changed his name. Started over. And you're his next investment, Bethany." Her voice was barely a whisper. "How do you know all this?" "Because I worked for him back then, and I ran when things went south. I've been hiding ever since." She hung up, shaking uncontrollably. Mark wasn't just hiding secrets. He was dangerous, and Bethany realized she wasn't just in a marriage. She was in a trap. Bethany stood by the window that night, unable to sleep. The city lights flickered dimly beyond the trees. Beside her, Mark slept peacefully, one arm flung across her side of the bed. His face, under the soft glow of the bedside lamp, was the face of a man she had once thought could not harm. She turned away. The next morning, Bethany packed a small tote bag. She told Mark she had errands, groceries, bank run, maybe stop by the bookstore to see a friend. He smiled and kissed her forehead. "Don't forget, we've got dinner with the Halloways tonight. I need you to dazzle them with your charm. I'll be back in time." She lied. At noon, she met Tom at a small diner far from Maplewood. He was waiting in a corner booth, wearing a hoodie and a ball cap, eyes wary. "You came," he said. "I had to." Tom slid a folder across the table. Inside were photos, financial records, and testimonies. One of the photos made her gasp. Mark was walking arm in arm with a different woman, younger, stylish, and cold-looking. The timestamp was just 3 nights ago. "Her name's Alexis Crane," Tom said, "real name unknown. She's his partner in every crime. She recruits, manipulates, and monitors the women. She's the bait and the enforcer." Bethany turned a page. Bank records in her name opened just 2 weeks prior listed multiple incoming transfers from Shadowgate Holdings. "I didn't authorize any of this." "I know. Mark forged your signature. He's already setting you up for a loan default. When the next phase starts, you'll be blamed for laundering funds through a failing project. He'll claim he had no idea what you were doing." Bethany, mind reeled. "And when I can't repay it, they offer you a way out." But the price is your freedom. They've done it to dozens of women, Bethany. I've spoken to 5 of them. One tried to take her life. Bethany's voice broke. Why me? Because you were vulnerable. Because you owned assets. Because you believed in him. Silence. I've already taken this to a contact in the state attorney's office, Tom said. They're watching Mark, but they need your cooperation to act. Bethany sat back. Her hands clenched. Her world, the peace, the love, the dreams had been nothing more than an illusion, a setup. I want to stop him, she said. I want to help the other women, too. Tom nodded. Then we need to be careful. Tonight, act normal. Tomorrow, you'll come with me. We'll meet the investigators, but not from your phone. Use this. He handed her a prepaid burner phone. Keep it hidden. If Mark suspects anything. Bethany looked him in the eye. He won't. I've lived with a liar before. I know how to wear the mask. As they left the diner, Bethany stepped into the sunlight. The chill in the air reminded her that fall was ending. Winter was coming, but so was the reckoning. The morning sun filtered softly through the kitchen window as Bethany stirred sugar into her tea. Each motion deliberate, each breath carefully measured. Mark was humming in the shower, unaware that the mask he'd worn so perfectly was about to be ripped away. The burner phone buzzed against the counter. Tom, detectives are in place. We're ready when you are. Bethany typed back, leaving now. She took one last look around the house, the framed wedding photo, the vase of autumn flowers, the jacket he'd hung so neatly by the door. It had been a beautiful illusion. But illusions break. She tucked the burner phone in her coat pocket, grabbed her tote bag packed with the Shadowgate documents, and left at the agreed location, an unmarked office nestled between a bookstore and a dental clinic. Bethany met 2 plainclothes officers. Tom was already there, wearing his resolve-like armor. Detective Ruiz and Agent Klein introduced themselves quickly, ushering Bethany into a private conference room. You've done something brave, Klein said. We know how difficult this is. Bethany handed over the documents. Everything he forged in my name is in here. Bank records, contracts, even his emails. Ruiz nodded. Our undercover teams have tracked Mark's movements for the past month. Your testimony is the final piece. He meets Alexis Crane at a private club tonight. That's when we'll make the arrest. Bethany's jaw tensed. What if he suspects? He won't. We've planted enough false leads. He believes you're considering his new investment pitch. Bethany breathed deeply. Then let's finish this. That night, Bethany sat at a small bistro table, just a block from where Mark and Alexis were meeting. A mic was hidden beneath her blouse. Tom sat a few tables away, pretending to read a newspaper. Unmarked cars lined the street. The storm was ready to break. In the distance, Bethany spotted them. Mark confident and polished, and Alexis but icy walked arm in arm toward the entrance of the speakeasy-style club. As they entered, agents slipped in behind them. Minutes passed. Tension wrapped Bethany's spine like a vice. Then, her earpiece crackled. Target secured. Relief crashed into her. Tears welled up, unbidden. Tom appeared at her side. It's over. She turned to him. No, Tom, it's just beginning. The courtroom was packed. Press, victims, law enforcement. Bethany took the stand, her voice unwavering. She detailed how Mark's real name Michael Lazarus manipulated her, forged her name, and gaslit her reality. When the defense tried to undermine her, she remained composed. I believed I was safe, she said. I believed I was loved. But predators wear many faces. Alexis was arrested alongside Mark, charged with conspiracy, trafficking, fraud, and extortion. Their operation had spanned 7 states, targeted vulnerable women, and laundered millions. The case exploded in the national media. Bethany's story became a beacon. The victim advocacy network that Bethany and Tom co-founded was thriving. Dozens of women reached out. Survivors stood up, voices no longer silenced. One afternoon, Bethany stood in a community center auditorium, addressing a crowd of young women. Never doubt your instincts. When something feels wrong, it probably is. And never believe that your past defines your worth. Applause followed, warm and powerful. Outside, Tom waited. You were incredible, he said, as always. Bethany smiled. You helped me find my voice. And you helped me find purpose. They walked together, to the car not as lovers, but as to people bound by truth, healing, and the promise of better tomorrows. Bethany stood by her apartment window, watching snowfall dust the rooftops. The city glowed with the quiet hope of a new season. Her phone buzzed. Another message of gratitude from a woman in Seattle, who'd seen her story and found the strength to leave her dangerous situation. Bethany closed her eyes. The past had tried to break her, but instead, it forged her into something unshakable. From pain, she had built purpose. From ruin, she had risen.